Woo! What's going on, guys? Almost fun coming at you guys today with another video. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about a particular player here, going into more of our deeper dive series. It's actually right at the end of it. This is my last player that I'm doing, and it's sixth-round pick, linebacker, defensive end, James Houston, a kid out of Jackson State, a Jackson State Tiger. Played at Florida, played in the SEC. He was a Florida Gator for a few years. Then he entered the transfer portal and went to Jackson State. I think he might have even gotten a little bit of trouble at Florida with some type of credit card fraud. I think he pretty much got kicked off the team, to tell you the truth. Don't quote me on that one, but I think he got in trouble. He tried they get credit cards for college. And I think he bought he bought some type of electronic. He bought like an iPad, or he bought a Chromebook or something like that. And but it was like a fake. It was like a fake credit card. He added money to his credit card, some kind of fraud. I don't know. So he got a little bit of trouble. Went to the transfer portal, or just transferred over to Jackson State. Jackson State Tiger, where Deion Sanders is the head coach over there. So 6'1", 240 plus pounds. We did sign him to a 4-year deal. The Detroit Lions, 4 years at $3.7 million plus, with $132,000 plus guaranteed money. So right in his pocket after signing that contract. So he's been to a couple schools, played in the SEC though as just strictly a linebacker. And then over to Jackson State to play some defensive end, where there's a story there too, and I'll get into that. But his Florida stats as a linebacker: 100 tackles, 10.5 tackles for loss, 4.5 sacks, a few forced fumbles, 3 to be exact. And then Jackson State, his numbers skyrocketed. 70 tackles, 24.5 tackles for loss, 16.5 sacks, 7 forced fumbles, 2 fumble recoveries, 1 pick. And he added 10 extra quarterback hits to at Jackson State. So he had over 26 quarterback hits if you add it all together. Like a good football player. He did play in the SEC, so he wasn't really a full-time starter at Florida. He did start some games, but he was more of like a backup per se. But he did start a few games over there in Florida. He did, he did have 100 tackles in 3 years. So the kid is a pretty solid football player. He didn't stand out or anything like that at Florida, though. Really stood out when he went to Jackson State. Lesser talent, lesser competition. Doesn't mean he's a bad football player. Nicknamed the Problem at Jackson State. I think it was after, I forget who they were playing. He had like 4.5 sacks, 5 sacks. So they started nicknaming. So Houston, we have a problem. His last name being Houston, so they nicknamed him the Problem. So funny story though about this kid going over to Jackson State. When he first came over, Jackson State did kind of like they had like a reality show or whatever they're doing, almost kind of like a Hard Knocks. I don't know if ESPN was covering this, but they had a segment where it was James Houston, and this is from last year, and they brought him into the office, Deion Sanders, and I don't remember the other coach's name. I don't remember if it was a linebacker coach, the defensive coordinator, but they sat him down and they told the kid, listen, we're moving you to defensive end. We're moving you to defensive end, and he kind of was like, he didn't really like the idea. He felt slighted. He felt that they weren't using him properly, and he let Deion know. And Deion, being Deion Sanders, just straight up told him in the most professional way, he's like, listen, man, like, we really love you. We like your style here, man. We want you to be a part of this roster. But you're either going to go to defensive end and see the field, but you're not going to play middle linebacker here. You're not going to play any type of linebacker here. You're like the third, fourth guy off the depth chart. You're barely going to play. So, he took it in stride. He was professional. Well, he's professional, yeah, but he's in college. He's still college. He's trying to get into the league. The NFL. So he rolled with it, and he had a fantastic year. Like I said, over 16.5 sacks, 70 tackles altogether. and a big 24 and a half tackles for loss. So he was a problem at Jackson State. He does have some ability to him. He's a very aggressive downhill player, very physical, great feet, above average bend. Even in these OTAs and mini camps, I guess he was showing some bend when he blew by one of our UDFA's, Obina Eze, a highly regarded offensive tackle out of Texas Christian. Went right underneath his arms, got to the quarterback, got the sack. So he looked good there, man. He uses that dip well when going past old lineman, like I say. Doesn't lose acceleration too, so he's not one of those guys that can dip, but then like he just like trips over his own feet or he slows right down. He's got solid acceleration. He's smooth all the way through, so he's a very smooth player. He does have a couple counter moves. He does need to work on some of that though. But he even played some kickoff when he was at Florida too, so he's got some kickoff ability. He comes down there, he's aggressive. He loves to hit, and you love to hear that about a player. But he can be undisciplined at times. He needs to be more aware of his surroundings. He loses track of the football when he gets locked up on offensive lineman. Got to remember too, he's 6'1", 240 plus pounds. So when he's locked up on an old lineman, it's kind of hard for him to get, to look around those big monsters, man. Some of those guys, even in those smaller schools, man, they're 6'3", 6'4", they're big, and he's at 6 foot, 6'1". So he kind of loses track a little bit of where he is, and he kind of needs to figure out a way how to get better at that. Needs to work on with his hands more. He tends to kind of just get shouldered up. Needs to kind of work his hands, smack hands away, get under guys' shoulders and push. So he just needs to work on his hands when he's using some of his counter moves. He does lack overall size, like I'm talking about, and length as a pass rusher. So, the Detroit Lions drafted this kid in the 6th round. I don't remember if we took him after Malcolm Rodriguez, but we did take him in the 6th round, and he was kind of bouncing around in OTAs in minicamp when he first came here. When he first came here, Dan Campbell was like, we're going to make this kid a linebacker. He's playing linebacker here, and then Kelvin Shepard kind of voiced the same kind of thing. Brad Holmes maybe said something along the lines of that too, but they pretty much said he was going to be a linebacker. So you didn't really hear too much during OTAs and minicamp. We heard that one about Obina Eze getting underneath him. We did hear we did hear a little bit chatter about Kelvin Shepard. Had to talk to him a lot during these OTAs and these rookie minicamps because he's kind of transferring over back to linebacker at the time. So that's not necessarily a bad thing, but he kind of had, I think Kelvin Shepard, from what I understood, Kelvin Shepard kind of spent a little more time than he really wanted to, always having to kind of like coach him up and, kind of tell him like, this is how you do it. Like, it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's like, I'll make an example. With Malcolm Rodriguez, Kelvin Shepard didn't really have to get in Malcolm Rodriguez's ear. He didn't have to tell him, well, this is how you do it. It was more like every time something happened, James Houston had to be coached. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing really wrong with that, but it's like I think he's trying to, acclimate something. He's trying to become either a linebacker in the NFL, and he's just not quite grasping it just yet, is what I'm really trying to say. And then it kind of switched over, and then I think this last OTA, this last mini camp, James Houston was thrown into the defensive line room. So he was playing a lot of D-line, a lot of D-end, hanging out with the defensive ends, hanging out with the edge guys, and just in that room. So he's got Kelvin Shepard in one room, and he's got to go to Todd Wash in the other room, the two coaches, respectively. So they're trying to find a spot for this guy. I don't think they're going to give up on him at linebacker, and I don't know what they're going to do with him at defensive end. In my opinion, he's 6'1", 241 pounds, whatever he is. He is way too small to be a defensive end. Could he be a blitzing linebacker, play that edge, play that OLB, that outside linebacker position in certain spots, be a guy that can come in, obviously on special teams, come in on passing downs, on second and long, third and longs, and that situation to put some pressure on the quarterback. So it's going to be, I think, a little bit of a longer road for Houston. Will he make the squad? It's kind of up in the air right now. I'm not really too sure, but from what I'm hearing and reading, it kind of sounds like it's just up in the air. Nothing really concrete. We'll know more when training camp comes around in a few weeks, whatever that starts, end of July, the third week of July, whenever that starts. So we'll know a little bit more on where they're going to put him at, because they're going to have to find a spot for him. It's okay that he can go to both rooms and learn some stuff, but that's a lot on a 6th round draft pick, and hopefully he can absorb all that, man. So that's pretty much the video, guys. James Houston, did you like the pick? The deeper dive is done. I think it's going to be, I just have a feeling it's going to take a little bit more for this kid to make the roster. I think he's a for sure candidate for the practice squad. He'll probably get snatched up just because of his pass rush ability. We need all kinds of pass rush, so we'll see what happens. But I'm rooting for the kid. Hopefully he makes the squad. But that's the video, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button in the bottom right. Don't forget to hit the notification bell, get all my videos. And don't forget to like and comment. Let's talk about it, James Houston. Is he going to be a problem in Detroit, good or bad? Boom, go Lions, one pride, bang.